Would Elden Ring axes work as actual axes? Now, just because there has been some confusion in the comments, this is a video series on if the weapon designs from a video game would work if you put them in real life. Rest assured that I am 100% aware that there are weapons known as swords and spears that have existed historically. The hand axe. This looks a lot more like a tool-designed thing rather than a purpose-built weapon, and one of the ways that I can theoretically tell is because axes designed specifically for combat usually have a thinner edge. And it's hard to tell from just this angle, but looking at the eye, it looks like it doesn't go into a distinct narrowing into the blade, so it looks more like a utility tool. That said, obviously this axe would be a very efficient weapon, because, it's a light axe. But I'm just pointing out that it wouldn't be as fast or as efficient at just combat as a hatchet designed specifically for it, like a tomahawk or something. But this could chop wood better than a tomahawk, so trade-offs. The forked hatchet is not a hatchet at all. I mean, you could definitely use it like a pick and it would hurt things. It might be based off some farming implements that are used for moving around big bales of hay, but I'm not a farmer. I did work on a winery once. That was fun. But anyway, this would function a lot like a pick, although a regular purpose-designed pick would work better because you'd have less metal, so less weight, so it could go faster. So it would be easier to use, and you could strike with it pretty well. But this is still ouchy. The proportions on the battle axe are quite extreme, although I like how they give it a steel shaft, at least judging by the looks, in order to support the massive weight. That said, this is a lot bigger than historic axes that I know of. Here's a picture of some medieval designs that look kind of similar, and this one would just be really heavy. The warped axe, pretty much the same thing that I just said about the battle axe, except probably even heavier and, it's broken. Not that good. But probably better than nothing. The jawbone axe is really interesting to me because it mentions that it's a blunt weapon more than a cutting weapon, which, makes sense. And it's made by a society that doesn't like metal, but that just originally got me thinking, why bone? And after spending probably too much of my morning thinking about this, I think that it's because of the sustainability of the weapon. You can make a wooden club, but it won't hit as hard as this bone club. And you could make a stone club, or even a stone axe of obsidian, make it a blade, and it would work better than this. Although stone and obsidian are quite brittle, so if you made a stone or obsidian axe, you'd have to keep making new axes after using them. This thing seems like it would last for quite a few strikes. The iron cleaver is definitely on the big side, but it's not too far off from some Chinese Dao. One-on-one against those same Dao, those would be a lot faster, so the iron cleaver wouldn't really be the best, but you could still use it. The highland axe is, pretty much a Viking axe. And this is specifically a bearded design, which is that part hanging down that's not backed up by metal, and that was a method of saving iron, which both saves on cost and weight, because, you don't have to add iron to fully connect the pieces. You can draw it out some. The celebrant's cleaver is weird. The design itself would definitely function. It says that it's made of bone, so that would probably be pretty light. However, it says that it's made of human bone, and looking at the size, I looked at the in-game size, I don't know of any human bones that are that big. So barring some magic to fuse bones together, which, this is Elden Ring, I wouldn't be surprised. This wouldn't be possible in real life. If you wanted to make a human bone sword, you'd probably take some leg bones, carve out a bit in the middle, and then put some shards of other bones that you've sharpened, and make a grizzly makohito type weapon. The sacrificial axe, it says that it's for sacrifice and ceremony and all that, so not designed as a weapon, but it could definitely function as one. The icerind hatchet looks kind of similar in design to some spontoon tomahawks, and it's covered in ice. The big question I'd want to know in order to judge this feasibility in real world, disregarding the ice stuff, is how much of this blade is blade and how much is ice. Because if this entire thing is blade and it just has a light coating of ice, that would be way too heavy to use, but if the ice is expanding from it on all sides, then it could function. The ripple blade is definitely strange, and I like how they have it in the axe section, because using it like an axe would be the way that you would use it. Seems definitely ceremonial because the barbs on the inside wouldn't be too functional and they'd be incredibly difficult to sharpen, and you wouldn't really be able to stab too well with it, so they're just kind of there for the vibe. But it's not solid metal, so it'd be relatively light, and you could definitely swing it and cut things. The Stormhawk axe, cool design, probably quite usable. I like how there's the hook at the end, that's the eagle's beak, and you could use it to hook things. Rosus's axe is, I think, a really good example of something that's obviously a fantasy design, but quite functional. You've got that curve on the front, which, is an axe strike face and could axe things. There's the curved part on top, which you could use for thrusting. It wouldn't be as ideal as a spear point type thing, but it would be able to do some damage. And then it terminates on the back with a little spike, which if you flipped that around and then swung that would concentrate a lot of force on a small area. So it's really well designed.